Hello and welcome to this video. As we saw in our last video, the visa bulletin for the month of July was released a few days ago, and in that visa bulletin we have the cutoff numbers to apply in the month of August 2023. But apart from the cutoff numbers for the month of August, there are other aspects of that visa bulletin that we did not have the time to go into in our last video. And so in today's video, we will consider those other aspects of the July visa bulletin. So keep watching as we go into that. Now, let's begin with the cutoff numbers themselves. The cutoff numbers are usually what are of interest to diversity visa applicants whenever the visa bulletin is published. And that is because it is the cutoff numbers that indicate to applicants that their case number has become current. But in the case of the July visa bulletin, there were no movements in the regional cutoff numbers and in the cutoff numbers of some of the exception countries. So when we consider the July visa bulletin, it is mostly because of other aspects of the bulletin and not necessarily because of the cutoff numbers. The first of those aspects is the importance of the July visa bulletin itself. Remember that in a number of past videos are indicated that during the 2 final months of the diversity visa program, it has been observed that there are many interviews that are conducted. There are embassies that do not perform well during the earlier months of the program, but during those 2 final months, they actually perform well. And August being the first of those 2 months, the interview notifications to be sent out for August interviews begin to be sent out right after the July visa bulletin is published in the month of June. So the publication of the July visa bulletin actually announces the beginning of the sending out of many interview notifications to the many cases that are expected to be interviewed during the month of August. That is something I would like to draw your attention to, and it is the first point when we consider the publication of the July visa bulletin. The second point has to do with the date of release of the July visa bulletin. If you have been following the publication of past visa bulletins in the DV 2023 program, you will realize that most of those visa bulletins were published later in the month. Now, when the visa bulletin is published early in the month, it gives KCC sufficient time to send out interview notifications. In the case of the July visa bulletin, it was published on the 8th of June. So KCC has 3 working weeks plus to send out interview notifications for interviews for the month of August. Had it been sent out around the 20th of the month, KCC would have had only 1 to 2 weeks to send out those interview notifications. And this early publication of the visa bulletin can also be seen as a confirmation that indeed there are many interview notifications to be sent out for August interviews. Another issue to consider when it comes to the publication of the just released visa bulletin is the importance of the maintaining of the cutoff numbers. Most of you are aware that the movements in the visa bulletin cutoff numbers depend on visa availability. In other words, when you have many visas available for a given month, but few cases ready for interview, the cutoff number for the region concerned is increased in order to include new cases to add on to the few to receive the available visas for that month. And on the other hand, if the visas that are available are fewer than the cases that are ready for interview, the cutoff numbers for the regions concerned will not be increased so that the visas that will be available can serve the many applicants that have been current. And this is the situation that has occurred with the publication of the July visa bulletin. In other words, there are many of you whose case numbers have been current for some time now and you have been waiting to receive your interview notification, but so far you have not received it. And the visa office is aware of that, and so they decided to maintain the cutoff numbers so that the visas that will be available during the month of August can serve those of you who have been waiting to receive your interview notification for some time now. So we can summarize these points by saying many interview notifications are to be sent out during this month of June to those many cases that are expected to be interviewed during the month of August. And those interview notifications will be sent mostly to those of you whose case numbers have been current for some time now and you have been expecting your interview notification. The only exceptions are those from exception countries. So in case you find yourself in that situation, that is, your case number has been current before now, and so far you have not yet received your interview notification, then this is a wake-up call for you to begin to actively check in relevant locations where signs of your interview notification should appear. Now, the fact remains that not everyone will receive their interview notification during this month of June, but there will certainly be many who will receive their interview notification. And by the time some of you are watching this video, you would have already seen your interview notification and you will make mention of that in the comment area. For others, it will be after you have watched this video, then you will see your interview notification. But the important step to take now, which some of you have already been taking, is to actively check those locations where your interview notification should show up during the rest of the month of June. Because as I said, many interview notifications are expected to be sent out during this month. And that concerns mainly applicants from the Africa and Asia regions and the Europe region to some extent. Now, there is another group of applicants that the July Visa Bulletin concerns. The next video will cover that aspect of the July Visa Bulletin. But for today, that is all. That brings us to the end of this video. Don't forget, if you are concerned, start to look for your interview notification. Wish you the very best as you go about checking for it. Until the next video, goodbye.